everybody can kind of get situated. It'll take us a second before we start our slideshow for our webinar. First of all, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for all about the MLC. Are you getting all of the royalty payments you should be? Sponsored by MLC. My name is Eve Smith. My pronouns are she and her. I am the development director here at Folk Alliance International. As a master teacher, I enjoy our webinars so much, and I'm looking forward to getting this one started. Before we begin, let's take a moment to note that we are joined today by folks from around the globe and to collectively recognize the importance, complexity, and difficulty of offering land acknowledgements in the context of online programming. I am joining you from the indigenous lands of the Osage, Kansa, Ka, Kickapoo, and Oceti Sakowin nations, also known as Kansas City. We invite you to not only join in the acknowledging our shared responsibility to work towards reconciliation, but to commit and to personal, meaningful, and measurable action towards healing the legacies of colonization, forced migration, and cultural erasure. If you would like to learn more about the Indigenous legacies of the land you're on, we will be posting a link in the chat to assist you in finding out more about your space. Today we are gathering together to learn more about the MLC. I hope that you all will help me virtually welcome back to the FAI Programming National Director of Industry Relations, Jamie Dominique.
Dominguez.
Welcome.
Close.
Dominguez. Welcome, Jamie. We are so excited to hear from you today.
Thank you, Eve. Thank you, Folk Alliance, for having me and for always being great collaborators. We really love what you all do for the folk community and beyond. And so we are always happy to support and empower your community and educate as much as we can. My name is Jamie, and as Eve mentioned, I am the National Director of Industry Relations for the MLC, the Mechanical Licensing Collective. I'm zooming in from Brooklyn, New York. And the background behind me is not our actual office. That's just a fancy Zoom background. I am zooming in from home. And our office is headquartered in Nashville, Tennessee. So if you ever find yourself down there in Nashville, be sure to pop by and say hello. But yeah, we're gonna sort of dive into the rights and royalties that are available to you as songwriters. I think this is something that's really important that many songwriters don't really pay attention to sometimes, or it's not the focus because you're busy creating. So we are just really here to make sure that you're aware of all of the revenue streams that are available to you as songwriters and how you can empower yourselves and sort of take hold of your careers and hopefully generate more revenue by just knowing that these exist and sort of handling the business aspects of your creating. So that's what we're going to dive into today. Let me just share my screen. I've got a slide deck prepared. Okay, can everybody see the screen? Are we good? All right, great. Sorry about that. Okay. So let's just dive in. I'm first going to give you a little bit of background on the MLC and how we came about. We are brand new, so a lot of people haven't heard of us. So if you haven't, don't worry, you're not alone. There are many people who, that this is why we do these things. We really are trying to spread the message. But just a quick overview of the MLC. We are a nonprofit organization. We were designated by the US Copyright Office to collect streaming royalties on behalf of songwriters and rights holders like music publishers, and make sure that every time your music is streamed on any of these platforms like Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon Music, Tidal, SoundCloud, all of these streaming platforms, whenever your music is being streamed as a songwriter and a music publisher, you are entitled to receive royalties for each of those streams. And so that is why the MLC is here. Again, we were designated by the U.S. Copyright Office to do this job as a result of an amendment to copyright law, which was passed back in 2018, called the Music Modernization Act. And the Music Modernization Act was a way for us to update the old copyright laws because it was not reflective of the digital era, the streaming era. So the copyright laws had to be updated, and that is what the MMA did. And there were three main things that came out of the Music Modernization Act that apply to all of you and to us, the MLC. Number one, when all of the streaming platforms came to exist, there was no way for them to obtain licenses. They basically had to go out and individually find the owners of each song, of each copyright, and figure out who the publisher was, and then obtain a license. So a license is basically permission to use a song in a specific way. So in order to use music in any way, shape, or form, you have to obtain permission or a license. So prior to the Music Modernization Act, because it wasn't reflective again of the digital era, there was no blanket license. A lot of the broadcasters, like television stations, radio stations, traditional radio stations, they pay a blanket license to all of the performing rights organizations like ASCAP, BMI, and CSAC. So this blanket license is specifically for streaming, and the Mechanical Licensing Collective was formed because there needed to be a centralized agency that would administer this license to all of the streaming platforms. So that's how the MLC came to exist, was we are here basically to administer this new blanket license and then make sure all of you, the rights holders, get paid. And we're going to dive into all of that later in more detail. The third thing was the establishing a public database. So this database is accessible to anyone, and it's a way for anyone who uses the music, and in this case, we're speaking specifically about the streaming services, for them to find rights holders, the songwriters, the publishers that are credited on a specific copyright, on a specific sound recording. So this public database is accessible by anybody in the world. If you need to find the owner, the songwriter, the publisher of a specific work, you can you can search the MLC public database. And if you want, if you're a company or a business that uses music, and this is a handy tool for you, you can even download the entire database. It's not proprietary. The whole point is to make this information transparent to everybody and available to everybody, to make it easier to find songwriters and rights holders, which traditionally was not the case. So just to sort of go over everything I just said, before the Music Modernization Act, the streaming services had to go out and individually license every single work. And this is a huge, completely inefficient method because, as you may have heard, on a daily basis, there are hundreds of thousands of tracks being uploaded to streaming services daily. So imagine before the MMA and before a blanket license existed, having to go out and find all of these rights holders and license them. It was an impossible task, and that is why so many creators weren't getting paid. There was difficulty finding all of the rights holders and paying out these royalties and making sure the licenses were obtained. So the reason for the creation of the MLC was really to centralize and make everything more efficient. The database created greater transparency because you're easily able to find the rights holders, the songwriters, the publishers, and get paid. So that is why we are here. Our purpose in the middle, we're right in the middle between the streaming services and you, the songwriters and the music publishers. We are the only organization that administers the blanket license by law. So by law, we are the one entity that is administering the license and collecting the royalty income and paying it out to all of the rights holders, the publishers, the songwriters like yourselves.
Jamie, can I stop you? We have a question, and I would save the questions for the end, but there is a couple questions that were asked about that they were located in Canada. Is this applicable to them?
Okay, that's a great question. So anybody who resides outside of the US, we are only paying for US streams. So any streams that happen in the US on a US streaming platform. However, as you know, there are songwriters all over the world in every corner of the globe. So we do pay songwriters abroad and in Canada. Um, each foreign territory has their own collection society. So the way that usually works in each country, they all operate differently. Everyone is unique. So depending on where you live, what happens is that collection society in your country usually they will collect from the MLC and then pay you. So we will send the money to them and then they will pay you in your country. However, like I said, it's different for every territory. So we do have a list available on our website of all of the foreign societies and if we send money to them directly or if you know how that works in your country. But for Canada specifically, I believe that we are sending everything to SOCAN and they will pay you. But again, this is each country is different, so so always good to double check that. Okay, so we'll just keep moving forward. Before I dive into the ways that a songwriter can get paid, it's important to kind of backtrack and just cover some fundamental copyright basics that I think are really important. Um, in order to understand how you can get paid as a songwriter and as a music publisher, you have to understand the difference between when what we say is a song and what we call a sound recording. So in copyright law, there are two very distinct things. The song or the composition or the musical work, as they're sometimes referred to in copyright law, refers to the underlying music, meaning the melody, the notation, the harmonies, all of the things that encompass a song before it's actually recorded. So we're talking about the underlying copyright. This is the song, the composition, the melody, the lyrics, the notation, the harmonies. All of these are considered musical works or songs. And if you are a songwriter, you are the owner. You are the copyright owner of that musical work, of that song. Now, as the owner of a musical work or a song, you have the right to authorize others to record and distribute your song. So that is where the sound recording comes in. Once the song has been recorded by a recording artist, and it's distributed through a distribution channel or a record label. This is what we call a sound recording. And we're only speaking in terms of audio. We're not talking audio visual. That would be a video, and that's a completely um, separate copyright. So we're just, for our specific purposes today, we're going to be referring to songs or sound recordings as the two different ways that generate various royalty streams for you as a songwriter. So just to be clear, an example that they use in this slide is the song Yesterday, written by Lennon and McCartney. That song can be recorded or covered by multiple recording artists like Elvis Presley, Aretha Franklin, Frank Sinatra. So all of these are sound recordings. And these artists don't own the song, but they are the recording artists who perform on the sound recording. You as a songwriter, once that song is performed publicly, are entitled to receive royalties every time it's performed, regardless of who performs the song. So that's what we're going to get into next when we speak about the 4 different ways that a songwriter can get paid and how the MLC fits into that whole landscape. So there are basically 4 distinct ways that you can receive royalties for digital audio uses of your songs or of the sound recording. And the next slide is a sort of illustration of how it all breaks down. People find this very handy. I'm going to go through it. And don't worry, because I'm going to share with you a QR code later at the end of the presentation with all of this information so you can have it to refer to and share it with all of your peers and your collaborators and look really smart. Well, you will be smart at the end of this because you're going to know the information and you're going to share it and you're going to teach it to others. So that's the hope anyway. That's the goal. So as a songwriter, and when I say songwriter, you are also by default the music publisher. If you don't have a deal with a third-party music publisher or an administrator, you are your own publisher. You are self-published and you are self-administered. Okay, so when we talk about a songwriter who is self-published and self-administered, that's what we mean. And as a songwriter who owns the copyright, who owns the musical work, you are entitled to receive 2 different royalty streams, and that's on those 2 first columns of this illustration. You can generate royalties from public performance. So that means anytime your song is performed on the radio, television, live performances, any film and TV uses, those are considered public performance. And they generate public performance royalties, which are paid to you by your performing rights organization, your PRO. And in the US, that's ASCAP, BMI, CSAC are the main ones. And then you also have Global Music Rights and Alltrack, which is a newer one. So these organizations, you have to be affiliated with them. You have to be signed up with them, registered with them in order to receive your performance royalties. So very important. And again, since this is on the songwriting publishing side, your PRO is going to pay you your publisher share and your songwriter share. So again, if you are self-published, you're going to receive both sides, the writer share and the publisher share. If you have a publishing deal with a third-party entity like Sony or Universal or Warner Chappell or Downtown Music Publishing, any of these music publishers, or administrators like Cobalt or what's the other one? I'm blanking on other on other admin companies right now, but these companies are going to collect a portion of the publisher share on as it relates to their partnership with you. So that is what is considered public performance, and those are the entities that are getting paid out. You are also entitled to your mechanical streaming money, which is paid by the MLC. This is where we fall in. So the songs or the musical works, again, you are the owner of the original composition of the song. Once it's recorded and distributed, then it generates mechanical royalties. So this back in the day, this really only applied to physical uses of a song, physical recordings and distributions of a song. So vinyl, cassette, CDs, these were all physical ways that songs, that music was consumed. So now in the digital era, we have the MLC who covers streaming. So anytime your song is streamed, regardless of who performed it, you are also entitled to royalties. And this is paid to you as a self-administered songwriter um, by way of your publisher or your administrator. But if you're self-published, self-administered, this goes straight to you. So these are the two ways. And in order to collect your streaming royalties, you have to be registered with the MLC. If you don't have an administrator, if you don't have a deal with a publisher, then you must sign up with the MLC directly in order to collect these royalties. Very important. We are completely separate from your PRO. You need to be signed up with your PRO as well as the MLC. And then additionally, on the sound recording sides, there are two other ways that you could potentially get paid. As a songwriter, you're also going to get a share of revenue from a sound recording when it's distributed or released via a record label or a distribution platform on the master side. This is on the sound recording side. So even if someone else records your song and it's released out into the world, you are entitled to a share of that revenue as the original holder of the copyright. And if you happen to be the artist as well, then of course you will also get a share of the artist revenue. So this revenue from your sound recording that's paid by record labels and distributors to the artists and producers of a song. And if you're self-released, if you're an independent artist with no record label deal, that money is going to go directly to you. Okay. And then the second way that you can get paid from a sound recording, and this isn't necessarily, this doesn't apply really to the songwriter, but this applies to performers on a sound recording. So if you are the recording artist, or if you are a musician playing on a sound recording, whether you're the guitarist or a drummer or you're a backup vocalist, you are also entitled to performance royalties via sound exchange. And these are they're specifically paying for digital performances of a sound recording. So that's another way, not really related to the songwriter, but if you happen to be the recording artist as well, then this is another royalty stream that you're entitled to. So if there's one thing that you get out of all of the information I just threw out at you, which is a lot, it is that in order to collect all of the revenue streams that are available to you as a songwriter and as a performer, you must be registered with a PRO, ASCAP, BMI, or CSAC in the US. You must be registered with the MLC to collect your streaming royalties, and you must be registered with Sound Exchange, and that's for digital performance royalties for featured performers or non-featured performers on a recording. So those are the three organizations you must be registered with. We all collect different royalty streams. We all do different things, so it's not a conflict of interest. You must be a member of all three in order to collect all of these revenue streams. Okay, who needs to become a member of the MLC and how do you sign up? It's super easy. We are, again, a nonprofit. It's free. But if you are a music publisher, if you are an administrator, and if you are a songwriter who is self-published or self-administered, you need to become a member of the MLC in order to collect the money. So just a quick little publishing 101. Again, if a music publisher is a third party that you would do business with, you would form a partnership with. The idea is that they will help to exploit your music creatively, and in turn, they're going to take a percentage of your publishing income. So if you have a deal with a third party publisher, they will be registered with the MLC and they will also collect on your behalf. Administrators operate the same way. However, they're really just handling the administrative tasks, like making sure you're registered with all of the organizations, the collections or societies, making sure that all the money's coming in and they're distributing it to you. Making sure your songs are registered, making sure all the splits are correct. All of these administrative things is what an administrator does. So companies like Song Trust, Cobalt, these are administrators who you can, bring on to handle some of these tasks. And again, you would give them a percentage of your publishing your publishing shares. So if you have a publisher administrator, they're collecting your MLC money on your behalf, and you don't have to worry. But if you want to make sure, you can go into our public database and search for your song or search under your name, and all your songs will pop up. And the way you can tell if your publisher or administrator is collecting for you is you will see for each specific song that they've claimed shares of the publishing, or the publishing shares of your song. So that's how you can tell if you do the research on our public database. Now, if you are completely independent, self-published, self-administrated, you're doing the whole thing all by yourself, you're handling all the business, then you must make sure you're signed up with us directly. On our website, the top right-hand corner of the homepage, you'll see a blue Connect to Collect button, and that will take you through the process of becoming a member. You'll have to set up an account. It will validate your identity, and you'll have to go through all these steps to validate your identity for security. And then once that's done, you'll start, you'll have your account set up, and then you'll start registering works. And again, membership is free. Again, we're a nonprofit. Something really cool that I think is very unique about the MLC is we're actually, again, we were created out of law. We're not a government agency, but we were created as a result of an amendment to a very important copyright law. So we are, a lot of things that we do are overseen by the U.S. Copyright Office, and there's very specific tasks and things that we have to accomplish. And the biggest mission is to make sure that the songwriters, the rights holders, the music publishers, that everyone's getting paid on time and accurately. And we don't take any admin fees. We don't take any commission. We're paying 100% of the royalties to the songwriters, because the streaming services like Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, they all cover our operating costs. It's a completely separate bucket of money, but by law, they are here funding the MLC's operations, and so we don't have to take any admin fees, and that is a really wonderful thing, and very unique in our business. So there's no reason to leave money on the table. Make sure you sign up. It's free. Please just get it done. Make sure you're collecting your royalties, and spread the word. Some fun facts that I always like to share to show how important this is is in the short time that we've been in existence, which is only since 2020 was when we were officially formed, and then 2021 was our first distribution. We've processed $3.72 billion in royalties. So in the short amount of time, that's how much royalties we've in royalties that we've distributed to all of the rights holders, the songwriters and the music publishers like yourselves. So the work is being done, but we still have a lot of work to do. It's never ending. We all the royalties that come in each month, we pay monthly. So all of the streaming services send us the performance data, the streaming data, and we are processing 91.6% of what is being sent to us. So we're matching all of that data with what's in our database, finding the rights holders and getting them paid. So we're very proud of that and making sure we're turning around these royalties. If you know that gap in the percentage is because we're looking for certain songwriters, we're looking for certain rights holders who are not registered or who haven't claimed their shares yet. So we need to help. We need to constantly reach out to all of you to help us fill those gaps. We have about 60,000 plus members now. Again, that is not nearly all of the songwriters that exist in the US. So again, please spread the word about the MLC. And if you're not already registered, we need you to sign up ASAP. Our database has grown to about 48 million works. So these are all songs that you can find on any streaming platform. They should be in our database. And if they're not, then they need to be registered. And we're really just here to get this job done. You know, we've been given a big mission by the U.S. Copyright Office. We're here for you. We definitely need you all to play your part. This is one of those things that if we're, you know, we really are trying to rebuild our music industry and make it more transparent, make it more efficient, make it more sustainable for you, the creators. So in order to do that, we have to build it all together. We have to, you know, kind of have this all hands on deck approach and really, really rebuild the industry and the business together. Sharing this really handy QR code. This is the MLC Songwriter Toolkit that we put together with some really valuable information if you're a songwriter, or even if you're a publisher or an administrator or a manager, someone who is on a songwriter's team, on a creator's team, handling the business. It includes a quick video about the MLC, a songwriter checklist, the things that a songwriter needs to do in order to start earning royalties and collecting their royalty revenue. There's a really handy split sheet. So it's a split sheet template. So if you're in a writing session with a collaborator, it's super important to handle the splits and make sure those are agreed upon, and so you can get your songs registered and start collecting money. So we have a songwriter split sheet template in there. There's the link to the digital music landscape graphic that I shared earlier with all the 4 revenue streams that are possible, and a few more other resources. So please scan the code. Keep the toolkit handy always, and please share with your friends, your colleagues, your collaborators, anybody in your circles that this can be useful to. I think it's really good information. We have a ton of resources on our website. Part of our initiative and part of the guidelines that the Copyright Office gave us is we have to constantly be educating and providing tools and resources to the creator community. So if you go to the MLC website and go through our resources section, you're going to find a plethora of information there. You know, a lot of what I spoke about today, you'll find there, and more. So that's always there for you as a resource. We also have, you know, YouTube channel with videos, and we're on all the social media platforms as well. Our support team is phenomenal. If you go through the process of registering, not if, when you go through the process of registering with the MLC and you're having trouble or you have questions, or maybe you've gotten to the point of registering some of your songs and have some questions that pop up, our support team is fantastic. They will sit with you, walk you through everything you need to know. They'll answer your questions. They're very patient. They spend all the time they need with you until you have it figured out. So they are available regular business hours, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Central Time, Monday through Friday. You can also chat with them virtually in the portal. You can contact them via phone. And there's also an email submission form if that's easier for you as well. So they're always available, and please do utilize them. They're a tremendous help. I have many friends that have spent hours on the phone with our support team, and they are extremely helpful. So these are all of our socials where you can find us. We're constantly doing webinars like this one. We're always hosting events in various markets, networking events, educational events. You can find us at a lot of the conferences and the songwriting festivals and camps, um, doing workshops and panels and all of the things that we can to support the creator community. So please follow us and yeah, help us spread the message and get all the songwriters paid. And I think that's the end of our presentation. So if we want to jump
Great.
to questions, happy to answer.
Hey, before we start questions, a couple things that I noticed that was a little bit of a wow for me was that I did not know that you were a nonprofit.
Yeah,
I love that you're a nonprofit because you can offer just so much more to the artist and the creative community. That 3 billion number, wow, that was my eyes got big on that one. And
yeah.
I love the toolkit. The toolkit is amazing.
Awesome.
Just
Yeah, thank you.
yeah,
We again, like the whole concept of the MLC is truly a transformative business in our industry because there isn't an entity, an organization like ours, a company that was formed out of legislation that is built specifically to serve the creator community and make sure that you're getting paid. So it is a step in what we hope is the direction that's going to keep going. And yeah, that's really why we have to continuously do this outreach and educate because we want the creators to understand how it works so that we can start to rebuild and make, like I said, make everything more transparent, which has always been sort of the area that causes, why you can't find your money and why creators are struggling so much of the time is because there's this lack of transparency, lack of information.
right.
So yeah, so that's why we're here.
Okay, great. So I'm going to start in the Q&A. There's 3 questions over there, and then there was a few questions that's in the chat. So then the Q&A from Craig. As a U.S. artist, how do we get paid for streams outside the U.S.?
Okay, so as I mentioned before, the various most countries outside of the US, they only have one collection society. So that one collection society would be responsible for paying performance royalties and mechanical royalties and all of the streaming royalties as well. So um, typically how that would work is they would send all of those royalties to your US performing rights organization, and those would get paid through them.
Okay, great. Um, from Sue and Dwight Music, what is the Canadian equivalent of MLC?
So Canada, the performing rights organization in Canada is SOCAN. I don't think there's an equivalent of the MLC that is specifically paying um, mechanical streaming royalties. But again, I want to double check that because I don't know the, like I said, every single country is different, and I have to brush up on some of my other territories. But SOCAN would be the collection society based out of Canada.
And is SOCAN a for-profit or a nonprofit?
I don't know how they're set up. I think
Okay.
actually they might. I'm not sure. I don't know if they're a for profit. In the US,
Okay.
the only ASCAP is set up as a nonprofit. BMI and CSAC are both for profit,
Hmm.
and GMR is for profit. All track, I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. From EB Lounge, what's the top thing indie artists are who are MLC members can do to help MLC continue to represent us well and have the DSPs finally caught up to their backlogs and payment to you?
Okay, these are great questions. So I'll address the backlog in payments, which some people refer to that as the black box of money that was just sitting there prior to the MLC's existence. So this is money that was just sitting with the DSPs that wasn't getting paid out because they couldn't find rights holders. So that money we are being paid, we are paying all of that out going back to 2007. Something really important to note is that typically in our industry, there's a 3-year period of time where if they can't find the rights holders, that money gets redistributed amongst by market share to the rest of the members. Now, because we're new, we have a little more time. The U.S. Copyright Office has extended our time. So, but that being said, all of that back money, if you haven't registered with the MLC yet and you think you might have money waiting for you from the period of 2007 to 2020, it's important that you get registered and claim that money ASAP because it's going to be redistributed soon. So I would guesstimate that with by next year they're gonna want us to redistribute that money. So just a sense of urgency if you haven't already registered. That money's not going to sit there forever. But yes, to answer your question, we have gotten through a lot of that money. I think I don't have the exact figure in front of me right now, but I know that the last time I checked, we paid out over 60% of that black box money, which when they sent it to us was about $430 million of unpaid royalties from 2007 to 2020. So, we've been distributing that money in phases, and we're getting very close. But again, I'm going to implore all of you who aren't already registered and haven't already claimed this money, if it's sitting there waiting for you, please do it ASAP. And then what can you do? Oh, I would say, you know, the most important thing, the songwriters, the creators themselves are our biggest mouthpieces. They are our most effective mouthpieces. So when you're in the studio, when you're amongst your collaborators and peers, be sure to ask them if they're registered with the MLC. Tell them about us if they don't already know. Share the information I shared with you today. Post things on social media about us, encouraging people to do their homework and get signed up. Yeah, really just evangelizing the message. This is like we're spreading the gospel here, and we need all of you. We need all of your help to do it.
I love it. Is Reverberation a DSP?
Um, does Reverb Nation, they have a playlist function? Is that, or is it interactive or non-interactive?
Scott tried to answer. Scott, you can join if you'd like. I said that is a just he thinks that it might be a distributor that services DSPs like Spotify,
Yeah.
Corbuds.
Okay. So if so I guess I will just make a quick distinction between interactive and non-interactive. When they say interactive, that means you as a listener can go to a platform and you can choose what you want to listen to. You can select songs you know, like on Spotify or Apple Music. Um, Non-interactive would be more on along the lines of like internet radio. So Sirius XM, where it's, you know, programmed, or playlists where, you know, you're just listening to a very specific program playlist, and you can't forward or pass any songs, or you can't select specific songs. So we are specifically, you know, for Reverb Nation, if there is a capacity for you to select songs and listen to them, then yes, we would cover that's considered a mechanical generating royalty.
Great. And I think we have one question left. How does a service like DistroKid plug in, quote unquote, in to this process? I assume it's inside step two, and he was talking about, or they were talking about step two on the slide digital royalties landscape.
Yes, so the distributors are definitely all a part of the MLC, and if you're signed up with DistroKid, there are some of the distribution platforms offer administrative services and publishing services as well. So you might want to, if you are signed up with DistroKid, make sure that either you are, if you opted into administrative or publishing services, then they would be collecting your MLC money. But a lot of the other distributors don't. So they, you know, they're just a straight distribution platform, and they wouldn't be collecting royalties on your behalf. But so you would have to make sure to register.
Okay, great. I think that we have come to the end. Um, Uh, Thank you so much, Jamie, for a wonderful and educational presentation. Thank you to our team and to all the folks watching today. Thank you for everyone. We are so sorry about the hiccup about getting into the webinar. Um, we would like to take this opportunity to thank our sponsor, MLC, for supporting this webinar and our community. A recording of today's webinar will be made on our YouTube channel and sent out to registrants when available. Um, the donation slide, I guess, because I just found out that you're a nonprofit also, Jamie. You know, one final note on our year-round online offerings are provided at no cost to our members, thanks to generosity of donors. If you would like to support our work, donations can be made at the link in the chat. And as I mentioned, Jamie, you're a nonprofit also. I mean, just to let everyone know that, you know, $20, donate to your favorite nonprofit. It helps us so much. $5, it doesn't matter. Again, Jamie, thank you so much for being here. It was so informative.
Thank you for
uh,
having me.
and stay safe and connected, community, and we will see you soon.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.